I didn't move, and he didn't say anything for a long while. Eventually I felt his hand on my head, and he began running his fingers through my hair. If I hadn't been so worried about my death, I probably would have found it peaceful or maybe even noticed his brooding mood, but I was too wrapped in my head to notice much. "I know you're awake, I can hear your heartbeat," the Alpha King said finally after about 30 minutes. "I came to ask about how your doctor's visit went." For a moment, I thought about continuing to pretend he didn't exist. But before I could stop myself, I reached out and grabbed the medications and rolled over toward him to show him all the things I really didn't understand, nor could I find the motivation to even try to. The Alpha King looks at the medication and then at me, and my stomach does a little flip. He then handed me the chalkboard he left me the day before. I wasn't sure exactly what to do with it, and I'm not exactly sure what he expected. I was raised on nothing about me screamed literate. I knew a few words, but I had no idea how to spell what he wanted me to. But I used to like to draw, at least before my stepmother had died, and I had a little more freedom. It was dark, and I couldn't see well, but I decided to give it a try. First, I drew the general shape of the medication and a question mark. Then I drew the salve the best I could and added a question mark to that as well, hoping he would know what I meant. He looked at my drawings in the dark. I knew he could see better than I could with his werewolf eyes. They had stronger senses than humans. I watched his face frown as he looked at my drawings before he abruptly got up and walked to the bathroom. I froze. Was I supposed to follow him? I apparently didn't because he came back out seconds later with a glass of water and stood in front of me. "This one, you swallow," he told me. "Put the pill on your tongue and then take a sip of water and that will be that. He's probably worried about infection if he gave you that." I frowned but did as he said. The pill had a funny taste, but it went down pretty smoothly. "And the other stuff, it goes on your back to help them heal faster," he explained gently. "Can I help you put it on?" I hesitated for a second, but relented since I didn't have a better way to put it on. The Alpha King, Reese, looked me in the eyes as he put the salve on his fingers, and a chill ran through my body. "Shush," he whispered. "This might sting, but it will help, I promise." I closed my eyes as he began to trace my open wounds. He was right, it did hurt, but the cooling sensation and his gentle touch made it bearable, and my heart fluttered nearly out of my chest. But then his hand started to trace the old wounds. The ugly marks I bared because of my awful half-sister. Reminders of the place I had only just left and could go back to at any time. Or worse. My body immediately betrayed me and began to tremble. I met his eyes with a pleading look in mine, begging him to stop, but it seemed to have the opposite effect on him. His face morphed into disappointment right before my eyes. "Do you always put on this pitiful act for everyone or just me?" he demanded as he moved away from me. I couldn't push away the hurt that immediately consumed my chest at his words. Confusion filled me without a chance for me to even get my bearings. Pitiful? Act? Did he believe Kinsley's story after all? Was it now my time to disappear? My heart was racing a mile a minute at the thoughts as I tried to not let it show. I was going to die. I could at least die brave despite the tears filling my eyes. "I sent people to your little pack," he continued. "I wanted to know more about how could be littered in so many marks. I wanted to hear their why and decided if I believed them or not. But do you know what I found, Gracie?" I hated the way he said my name just then. I hated the anger in his voice. It only made my fear worse. It was completely and utterly emptied. There was not a soul to be found anywhere. They deserted. "Do you want to tell me why they would have deserted like that, Grace?" I panicked. I had no idea where they would have gone or why. I had never been allowed to leave the house, and it's not like they told me secrets. I was hated. I was worse than an enemy, I was a traitor. His hand gripped my chin, forcing me to look him in the eyes. "Now tell me, Grace, are you a part of a conspiracy? A plot to overthrow the kingdom?" I shook my head back and forth. No. Of course not. I had never been a part of anything of the sort. That would have meant I mattered. I did not matter. "What is your role in this?" He tried to demand. I need to know, Grace. The way he said my name again sent shivers down my spine again, but not in the good way. This was the Alpha King, and he would dispose of me without a second thought. I hadn't proved anything to him. I had no role, but it wouldn't matter. He would never believe me. I was nothing. I was worse than nothing. I was a traitor. I was wolfless. I had never mattered to anyone before. But a small voice in my head begged for him to believe me. I wanted him to believe me. I shook my head slowly. No. I did not have anything to do with my pack. And I hoped that this time, he would hear all my unsaid words. I sat in my office brooding over my day with a nice glass of whiskey, but it didn't go down as smoothly as it usually did. The day just didn't make any sense, and my lack of sleep wasn't helping. I had spent half the night pacing outside of Grace's door to make sure she was okay and was fine. Everything about her situation didn't sit well with me. How could a girl, that injured, go so long under everybody's radar? It didn't make any sense. So around 4 a.m., I gave up on sleeping and stopped pacing when I knew for a fact she was peacefully sleeping and made my way to my office to pull every record I had on her pack. I knew it was a conjoined pack. Alpha Adrian had been an alpha in his own right of the Red Knight pack, and Kinsley had been the heir of her pack, Blood Moon. When Alpha Andrew died, they had combined the packs, renaming themselves the Red Blood Pack. But other than the fact the pack grew by 60%, there was nothing that screamed problem. I pinched the bridge of my nose in frustration, and mind-linked Leon to send a scout team to Red Blood Pack. They wouldn't be expecting anyone, so it was sure to catch them off guard, and I carried on with my day, eventually taking Grace to the doctor. However, it didn't catch them off guard. In fact, the whole pack was empty. Not a single person anywhere around, and I still had people looking, even now at this late hour. I couldn't believe it. Had I fallen for another woman's trick? I had done enough of that in my past, and I thought she was different. My anger could barely be contained. Everyone always had an agenda. How could I have not realized that Grace would too? My wolf argued with me. He kept saying that I didn't know Grace's side of things, and even for power, it didn't make sense why she was so broken. She was mute for crying out loud, and I largely suspected it was from her trauma. But a small part of me wondered if it was so she wouldn't give up her secrets. I got up after a while and found myself outside her door. I opened it slowly, but I could tell she was still awake based on how fast her heart rate increased when the door opened. I didn't say a word though, I just sat on the edge of the bed near the door for a while. I couldn't help but reach out and start stroking her hair. The desire to mark and mate her was getting stronger the longer I was around her, but my wolf never screamed mate, he just was really protective of her. I know you're awake, I can hear your heartbeat, I said after about 30 minutes. I came to ask about how your doctor's visit went. To my surprise, she only hesitated for a moment before she grabbed two things off the side table and thrusted them in my direction. I raised my brows in surprise and handed her the chalkboard. I wanted more information than that. She took the chalkboard hesitantly, and I was surprised to see the frown that appeared on her face, but eventually she started to write. It was my turn to frown when she showed me the clipboard. It wasn't words, but just simply a couple of poorly drawn pictures and question marks. Could she not write? It took me a few long moments to realize she had no idea what to do with the medications. Did my brother do anything right? I got up from the bed and grabbed her a cup of water. This one, you swallow. I informed her. Put the pill on your tongue and then take a sip of water and that will be that. He's probably worried about infection if he gave you that. And the other stuff, it goes on your back to help them heal faster. He explained gently. Can I help you put it on? She sat on the edge of the bed and took her shirt off, careful not to move too much. It was obvious that the movement hurt. Shush, I whispered. This might sting, but it will help, I promise. I started with all the fresh open wounds. My finger barely touched her, knowing it hurt. But when I was done, I couldn't help but linger on some of the older scars, my fingers tracing them with more pressure. She immediately tensed. I could feel her tremble beneath me, and she turned toward me with pleading eyes. Instead of softening me as they had before, they infuriated me. Had she done this to herself? Is that why she didn't want me to touch them? What conspiracy was she a part of? I started yelling at her about what I knew, but she didn't waver. The fear in her eyes was something I never wanted to see again, but I couldn't stop. I was too angry at her, for everything that was going on. She grabbed her chalkboard, and her hand moved frantically across it. I knew I was too angry and I didn't want to play charades, so I started to move away. We both clearly needed space right then. But as I turned to leave, her small hand gripped my shirt, forcing me to stay put despite the weak grip she had. She gestured at the chalkboard, and I sighed, taking it from her. It wasn't pictures this time. It was a few words. Yes, words. They were hard to make out. No, go out. I read back to her, squinting at the board. She gestured to herself for clarification. You never went out? I asked. She nodded, and I could see the tears in her eyes. Like out on the town or out of the house? She held up 2 fingers. She never left the house. I squinted at the next part. The word no was clear, then there was a stick person and word talk with an X on it. Nobody talked to you? I asked after a long minute of trying to decipher. A look of excitement crossed her face, letting me know I got it right. And the last sentence. Not sure out, but we'll tell and help. Please no kill. My stomach dropped. Did she really think I would kill her? Did the thought even cross my mind? She was standing before him. Her shirt back on, but she was so small. So weak. So desperate. Her one hand still clutched at my shirt, and the other she had wrapped around herself, trying to make herself look small or comforted. I stopped fighting it. I pulled her up, and my lips crashed into hers. A moment I had been waiting for since the moment I had seen her. 1 minute we were fighting, the next his lips were on mine. My first kiss. Something I had dreamed about from the time I was old enough to know about kisses. It was nothing and everything like how I had imagined. It was rough but tender. Demanding, but gentle. It made my insides twist and heat in a way I had never experienced before. And I wanted more. Wait. No. 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 I should not be kissing Reese. I mean, the Alpha. I mean, the Alpha King. What was I doing? This was crazy. No. No. I can't be doing this. I pulled away and pushed him back slightly. I instantly missed his warmth, and the frustrated look on his face made me unsure if I had made the right decision. I was to be his bride after all, if he was serious about that. Did he expect me to just give him everything whenever he asked? Was that what I was supposed to do? I felt my body begin to tremble with fear again. What if he decided this was the last straw and now, he was going to kill me? I looked away, hoping to make myself disappear. Oh God, what have I done? But after a long moment of silence, I slowly raised my eyes to his and noticed he was still just staring at me. You know, many people have sought my kiss. I have had strangers throw themselves at me. Random people write me letters of marriage proposals, and my own bride pushes me away. Tell me, what am I supposed to make of that? I looked away again, feeling awkward. What did he want me to say? I had nothing to say. Nothing to give. Did he want me to kiss him again? You know, a lot of people would kill for a kiss like that. He continued when I didn't say a word, but his voice was sultrier, more than demanding now. And you have kissed the Alpha King, Grace. But you still look so unhappy. I don't think I've ever even seen you smile. Like a real, happy smile. Tell me, Grace, if you aren't trying to steal my throne and aren't part of some crazy conspiracy, tell me, what do you want, Grace? I frowned. What did I want? I didn't know. Nobody had ever asked such a question before. My own father hadn't even cared about what I wanted. He kept me locked in a prison on nothing but the words of Kinsley. He hated that I ruined his image of a perfect family. I was hated by everyone. I was left by the only people I had ever loved, my mother and my stepmother. There was little of the world that I even knew of. I didn't know what there even was to want out there. I had been trapped my whole life, whether physically or societally. I had no idea what to want. I grabbed the chalkboard from where he had thrown it onto the bed earlier. The only thing I really wanted was to be free. I didn't want to be a slave anymore. I didn't want to be constantly looking over my shoulder. I didn't want the fear of making a mistake, no matter how small. I didn't want to feel what I felt. I didn't want to be stuck in my own head. I just wanted to be free. I drew a little bird to convey everything I wanted and showed him. I wanted to be able to go where I wanted, when I wanted. I didn't want to have to ask permission about anything. I just wanted to be free. His gaze lingered on the board for a long time. I didn't know if he understood what I was trying to convey, but I didn't have a better way to put it. There was nothing in this world that I wanted more than that. He stared at the picture for so long that I was convinced he had no idea what it meant. But then, he placed it gently on the side table, and pulled down the covers on the bed again, and gestured for me to climb it. I nodded my thanks and crawled in tiredly. He started to walk to the door, and I panicked slightly. I might not have thought I should kiss him, but that didn't mean I wanted him to leave. But to my surprise, he stopped when he got to the other side of the bed, and began to undress, taking off the button-up and the dress pants so he was just in his boxers. Then, he got into bed on the other side and pulled me into his lap. "Gracie," he cooed. I looked up at him wondering what he wanted now. "I don't think I could handle it, if you're lying to me about who you are and your part in everything. You already have such a hold on me. Promise me you'll never lie to me. If you don't know or don't remember something, then okay, but promise me you'll never lie to me." I searched his eyes as he searched mine. I didn't know what he meant by all that, but I knew by that look I wanted to do anything he ever asked of me, so I nodded, slowly. "Good. And tomorrow, I think it's best if we start sharing a room. I want you to have your own space, and we can pick a place for that, but I don't want to sleep another night without you. How do you have such a hold on me already, Gracie?" My heart fluttered. Did he mean it? I had never had a hold on anyone. I had never really had my own space. I had never really mattered enough for that. But the way he spoke made me feel like I mattered to him, and that thought was both unsettling and thrilling all at once. He was the Alpha King. My Alpha King. The last thought I had as I drifted off to sleep was, when did he become my Alpha King?